Hey there, youth workers. Welcome to a special edition of Student Ministry Today. I'm Jay, and we're actually here in my garage. I'm not going to pan around because the garage is actually a mess. But I'm in my garage today because I am working on some backdrops for our Christmas staging in our youth room. And I wanted to share this with you. I got the idea on Pinterest, and I got the idea of how to make this from Paul Turner, and I'll put a link to his YouTube channel in the description below because he did something similar to this to create lettering for a backdrop for his youth room. Then I saw the idea for the backdrop that I want to use for Christmas on Pinterest, and I connected the two ideas, the Paul Turner idea and the Pinterest idea, and I came up with some fun backdrops for our Christmas decorating that we're going to be using tomorrow to decorate our youth room. So here's the deal. I want to show you what we're doing, and then show you the products that I'm using to make this, and I'll leave links and information in the description below so that you can get all of this stuff as well. So here's what I'm doing. Here's what I'm doing. I saw on Pinterest a cool background that just involved triangular shaped Christmas trees that were lit from the bottom up with colored lighting. It was real simple. It was real clean. We don't have a big space, so I don't need a big, elaborate, background. I just want some fun accent pieces to put behind us as we're doing our gatherings this month. And so I saw this little idea, and I thought that'd be really fun to do on a small scale, and I bet I could use some styrofoam insulation to do this. And this is where Paul Turner's idea came in, because he used styrofoam to cut out letters and then paint them and use them for part of his stage background. So here's what I've got. I've got some green. You can see I already started working on this here. I've got what's called GreenGuard XPS. I picked this up right here at Lowe's. It was like $19 a sheet for a 4x8 sheet. So it was a little pricey, but I got it because it's pretty. It's dense enough and it's stiff enough that these things are actually going to stay and not be too flimsy where they might fall over, or I would have to support them from the back. So they're 1 inch thick. And what I've done is I've gone and I've cut them into Christmas tree shape. See, nothing fancy. It's Christmas tree shape, which is a simple triangle. And then I went and I spray painted them. And I've chosen 3 colors of spray paint: red, green, and over here I've got some that are drying that are blue. And I picked these colors because when we went to look for colored light bulbs, these were the 3 colors they currently had in stock. So it'll work for our coloring and it'll work for the lighting. But it was real simple. All I did was lay out on the foam. I marked along the sides of the foam a foot. So every foot I marked. And then just drew diagonal lines from 1 foot marker to another, and it created these triangular shapes that I am using. So they are 4 feet tall. They are 2 feet wide at the base, and they come to a point at the top. And as you can see, they're pretty sturdy. So far, they've gotten only 1 coat of paint. They'll get a second coat here in just a few minutes. But really, my setup's going to be just having these mixed colored on the background, and we're going to front light them from the floor up, and so it should give it a really cool little kind of glowing effect. So what I got to do is do second coat paints, and I want to talk about the paint because Paul Turner turned me on to this, and it's good that I saw his video first, because if you're familiar with styrofoam and if you've ever tried to paint styrofoam, it's a pain in the butt to paint because the paint just eats away at the styrofoam and it doesn't look good. And so he came across this, what's called DesignMaster paint. Here it is here, and it's awesome because it's made specifically for application on the various things, but for styrofoam and for foam products. And so as you can see, with just 1 coat, it's already put on a pretty nice coat. I could probably just leave it like this, but there is some spots where you can see I need to put a little bit more on there. But it hasn't eaten through. But it hasn't eaten through the styrofoam. It actually looks great on the styrofoam. The styrofoam's holding the color really well. You can see the green here. Again, it needs a second coat. And we'll clean up some of these little spots here But I'm going to go ahead and give these guys a second coat, because along with these 4-foot high trees, I'm going to try to cut out 2 5-foot, maybe 6-foot trees out of my last piece here, which is a 4x8. And so I'm hoping to be able to get at least a 5-foot, 2 5-foots out of that. So that's what I'm going to work on right now, and I'll be right back with the results. One of the things you might be noticing as you're watching this, the way I am painting these to eliminate any like spots where the paint just hits really hard and sticks, and so that it looks more even across. If you notice, I am spray painting across the width of the tree, but I'm actually starting the spray on the off side of the tree, so that I don't leave any marks. Because if you ever use spray paint, you know that when you go across something, you get usually a spot here where you start, and then a spot where you come back, and you have these two, obnoxious darker colorings of the paint, while on the spray side you get this like wimpsy, and you have to go over a couple times, and it kind of creates an uneven spray. So I've been going through, and I start on the outside of it, and then just come across and go, excuse me, and go back and forth over the tree, trying to eliminate those spotches there. So here it goes. You want to move fast enough to get the paint down, but not too fast that you're missing spots. So that should work for the paint. So that's 2 coatings, 2 coverings of paint on each one. Green, red, red, green. And then I have my 2 blues here. And the nice thing about this paint is I've been able to get still some paint in there, but pretty much 2 trees out of 1 can. I bought 2 cans of each color because I wasn't sure how much I would need to put on this. But as you can see, these are drying here nicely, and they look pretty even already. You can see the green one here looks pretty even, looks pretty good. The red ones came out really bright, really happy with those. The green ones look pretty good. And now these blue trees. So I think it's going to come together pretty nicely. So all I got to do now is measure out and cut for the top, the larger trees, which again I'm hoping for like a 5-foot tall. So it's just a little taller than these 4-footers. Okay, so a little change in plans. I tried to measure out 2 trees out of 1 big piece, and it probably is not going to work. I could probably get a few more 4-footers, but the way everything's laid out, I changed the plan. I'm just going to do 1 large 8-foot tree, and that'll be my centerpiece. And what I've done is I've actually used the chalk line. You can see it here, and I've run it from corner all the way up to the center, and I'm going to use that as my guideline to cut. Now, if you watch Paul Turner's vlog post of how he cuts out his letters, he uses an electric knife. It's a device that heats up the tip of the knife, and it cuts through the styrofoam and actually kind of seals it so you don't get all those little styrofoam bubbles and rips and tears. So if you're doing something fine like that, where you want a nice clean edge, use that. But I'm actually just making trees, and while I want them triangular, I'm okay with them being a little bit rough around the edges. So I'm just using a utility knife, and I'm just cutting very carefully with a straight edge, cutting out the sides. And for the most part, they've come out pretty good. I've had a couple snags a little bit. I've had to go back and clean it up a little bit. But again, I'm not looking for precision because they are trees. And even though it's kind of an Art Deco kind of form of doing the decoration of the trees, a little bit of roughness kind of makes them look, I like the way it looks. So I'm okay with that. So we're going to cut out this big tree here. It's going to be 4 foot at the base and then 8 foot at its peak. So it's a pretty big piece. So this should be pretty interesting to try to cut out. Let's see how it goes. So I'm finished cutting out the 8-foot tree. I can't stand it up because my roof in my garage isn't 8 feet tall. But there you have it right there. And like I said, I just use the X-Acto knife, and I go nice and slow, and I got pretty clean edges. And this styrofoam actually does not have like those little styrofoam balls. So you can see it does kind of hiccup every once in a while, but that's on the back side, so we won't really see that. But the rest of it's pretty clean, so I'm really happy with it. Did get away from the line a little bit here on the side. You can see it gets a little squiggly there, but hey, I'm okay with that. It doesn't have to be perfect. We're not in any type of competition or anything. And these things are just going to get stored in the attic and probably get banged around a little bit, so I'm not going to worry too much about that. Now, cutting off the 8-piece, or the 8-foot, cutting off the 8-foot tree did leave me with 2 long sides here, which if I put those together and kind of like dowel them together in the middle, could give me another 8-foot tree. I might just go ahead and do that, but I'm not sure yet. But for now, we're going to get some paint on this, and I think this one, I think I'm going to go with the red again, because I think that just looks really, actually, the blues are kind of cool. I don't know what to do. What do you think? Red, blue? Let's go blue. I think blue would be a neat centerpiece. That's what we'll go with. We'll paint this one blue. With the trees painted, now it's time for me to do the bases. What I'm thinking about doing is I've picked up some simple 1x2 or 2x1, 1x2, and I'm going to cut these into 6-inch pieces for the little trees and 8-inch for the long trees, and they're going to serve or for the tall tree, and they're going to serve as the base that will sit underneath of each tree, so that I can stand the trees up straight, not have to lean them against anything, and they should stand pretty easily. So I'm just going to mark them by 6 inches and cut off enough for what I need, and then drill some holes in them and make it possible so that they can attach to the bottom of each tree. There you go, 6 inches for a base for a foot. So what I'm going to do is I grab my paddle bits, and I'm using a 5/8 paddle bit. And the screw that I'm using to connect to the insulation is a 4.5-inch screw with an Allen fitting at the end, and it's got the flattest one I could find. I wanted something that would be long enough to go actually up deep enough into the styrofoam, and I wanted it to be a little bit of a thread to kind of bite a little bit, but it's styrofoam. It's not going to be a huge thing. It's not going to stay long. But I think this will be enough. The styrofoam is dense enough. I think this is enough of a screw thread that'll take me up 4.5 inches. But what I want to do is I want to countersink this screw head so that it lays flat with the bottom of each leg, so that it doesn't wobble one way or the other. And I don't have any fancy tools, so the best way to do that for me is to take my paddle bit, and I'm just going to cut down into the wood just enough so that I can sink this head so that it's flat when it sits on the ground like this. So that's what we're going to do next. So that really didn't take that long for me to cut everything, measure out approximately where the center of each little piece of leg would be, and then to paddle bit them, and then to drill all the way through. Really didn't take me that long to do. And the final product will have it so that I will be able to thread the screw through the hole, and then it'll sit flush with this, and then I can set them on the ground like this, and they won't teeter or wobble back and forth. Probably what I'm going to do next is just do a quick sanding over each piece, and then I think I'm going to spray paint them so that they match the color of the tree, so that kind of stays uniform on the stage. So I'm going to do that, and then I'll be right back. Legs are painted and ready to go. I've got my blues, my reds, my greens, and here's the final product for the legs. So the screw goes into the bottom, and you can see that it sits pretty flush. I may have to go a little deeper on this one. We'll do each one by testing, but you see it sits pretty flat, so that once it hits the ground, we'll be in pretty good shape there. And super happy with that. Now the idea is that those legs will go onto the bottom of these trees, and they will stand up nice and easy. Something that looks like that. Of course, we'll have them like at the ends of the tree, so that as it sits up, it sits right on that, and it'll be self-standing. So I'm going to finish this by going over to the youth room over at the church, where I've already got the trees staged, and we will finish this video over there by inserting these legs into the tree. So let's go ahead and we'll go do that now. So I'm here in my youth room, and this past weekend we had our students come in and begin decorating. Actually, not begin, they decorated. We're done. Our youth room for Christmas season, and we chose to do an elf theme where we went and used all sorts of paper, white paper to make snowflakes and paper chains, and it's pretty crazy. They did a great job. Looks like this morning we have a little situation, maybe one of the things broke and fell. We can go ahead and fix that, but if you can just look around, you can see all the stuff that the kids have done. But we're here because I want to put the legs on the bottom, and so let me show you what we've done so far. So that we brought our trees over because we were decorating. We wanted to get things set up, but here is what our stage looks like. Well, it's not really a stage because we don't have it elevated, but here's the front of our room for the month of Christmas. And you can see the trees that we've cut out and painted. That's how they all look. And what we're going to do is we're going to put the legs onto the bottoms so that they stand straight. Right now I'm just kind of leaning, kind of propped up against things, and so we're going to go ahead and put them on. I'm not going to video it. I'm just going to show you when it's all finished so I can get this done, and we'll talk about some things after all of it. So let me get this done for you. So I'm done for now with our trees. I'm really happy how they came out. Super easy to do, fairly inexpensive. And the results are just awesome. Here's a good shot of what they look like. I have uplights on the bottom, blue light bulb in that can, red light bulb in that can, and then just a simple white light. And it'll uplight those trees. We took the large blue one, wrapped that with some Christmas lights. Probably would have been better if we would have used white, or maybe spray painted the lights, I don't know, blue to match the tree a little better, but I kind of like the way it looks. And then you see the other three are here as well. I do have to get 2 new light bulbs for these guys here. Since I changed color schemes, I didn't have enough light bulbs. But that's it. Project is done. I'm super pleased with it. They look really cool. We did utilize them on Sunday without the legs, and super happy with how they look. But I'll turn the lights off right now just so you can get a sense of how they look being lit up in a darker room. There you go. See that? It's really cool. Really happy with it. So all the details will be on the blog, and links to everything all below. Let me turn the lights back on so you can see me. And that's going to do it for us today here. So thanks for watching. Hope this helps. Hope it's something you guys can use in your youth group, or at least use the idea and the concept to create something else for you in a background. These foam things have been awesome. Even putting the screws in, the foam was dense enough that the screws really bit well. Everything's pretty secure. I'm really happy with it all. So that's it. Guys, give a thumbs up if you liked the video, and subscribe, and we'll do more of these. And I'll connect you with other youth workers who are building stuff for their youth rooms, and we'll just continue to keep sharing all of these great ideas. But for now, Merry Christmas to you, and we'll see you next time on Student Ministry Today.